absolutely blowing gales outside. So straight away we're going to start in the hallway. It's the weekly showcase of progress at the Sharkstead, and I'm going to tell you what I've been up to for the last 7 days. So last couple of episodes now we go over the growth of our plants. So the bulb is actually really working. We've just turned it off because we need the socket in the other room temporarily. But you can see these peas. I mean, look at them, they're really coming up now. And we planted 80, I believe, and maybe 2/3 have come up, which isn't that much of an issue. But, you know, it's trial and error. So these are doing really well. We've got some kales and everything there, all sprouting up the back left. Got a little parsley, little baby one there. It's always nice when you see new growth.
I think that's a weed.
Is that a weed? Right, well, still a success. Still a success. These cherry tomatoes are doing well. And you can see the only just coming up. And a few weeks ago, you saw that we had some leggy ones. And we did keep some of the good ones. And these are starting to get true leaves now. So that's really nice to see. The roses, on the other hand, absolutely smashing it. You can see these little buds against my finger. Some really good ones at the back there. The avocados haven't split just yet, but they'll take a while. So we also went to the other village earlier this week and picked up some onion starts. So we got more than 100 of red and white. So we've actually germinated some seeds as well, because we hear different opinions on the internet whether it's better doing these or from seed. So we're doing a bit of a mix. So we've got some little buckets there, and we've counted out some that we think is enough for maybe a year's supply for both of us. Because we don't want to grow in excess, but we also want to cover any issues if not all of them come up. So far so good on the propagating side. We have also been quite busy this week downstairs in the extension in the utility room. So I'll show you down there. Now, the only reason we've been able to carry on and start on this is because we managed to reclaim a lot of the battens from the lean-to that we recently took down at our Last Outbuilding. And you can imagine, with all the weather and just being outside, all the battens were bananas, and I mentioned that last week. So unfortunately, when we were cutting them, although they're dirty, a lot of them did split, ironically. But so far, pretty good. So you can see from last week, massive progress. We've got the shelf ready for the top, and underneath this we have a batten frame. If you're following us on other social media channels like Facebook, you might have seen some pictures of the progress of this week. And we wouldn't have been able to get this far if we hadn't have found some blue insulation boards. So these are some offcuts that we actually found. We went for a walk around the village because the weather has been pretty good this week. Unfortunately, it is a bit too windy today to show you. But we was on the walk, and we always go to the local tip because we like reusing materials, and as you say, one man's trash is another man's treasure. And we saw this big plastic mountain of someone dumping loads of offcuts, unfortunately, and it's getting blown around. So we went back down with a bin bag, got the best pieces that we could, got it out the trash, and managed to give it a use and not let it cover the countryside really in blue plastic, because it won't degrade for like 200 years. So that kind of made us feel a little bit better about it, because we can't really do much with plastic recycling in Bulgaria. The infrastructure isn't really there. So although there is a lot of non-organics down there, we try our best to minimise what we can. And if we can find materials, whether it is bricks or renovation project materials and DIY project stuff, it's just our little way of trying to help. So you can see it's all pretty secure now, and all the pipes have been nice and clipped. The next stage, whether or not we do this before next week, is dependent on the weather, because we do want to get outside and start cracking on with some other stuff. So all these battens here, these long ones, you can see they are pretty dirty, and they've all just been saved from various outbuildings and lean-tos. And it is a bit of a dirty job trying to reuse and recycle, but we're not going to sand most of them down, and like none of these battens behind here got sanded down either. and it was a bit of a dusty job, but we're making good progress. So the next stage, we're going to do like a 65 centimetre deep boxing in for the washer and dryer. We'd also like to elevate the dryer slightly above the washer and possibly have like a sliding out drawer for your basket. We've got some rails in the tool room spare from old cupboards and drawers, so that might be handy for that. And then we'd like to bring it across, and I described last week of potentially putting the water heater at the top, but because we are lacking in materials and the polytunnel is only scraps and just odd things like this, we have to consider what design we can actually do. So we're contemplating whether or not it will be worth making like a section underneath here to house the water heater, and maybe like a cupboard door here, and then we'll still get the shelf concealed with like a cupboard and a ledge at the top for extra storage. But the idea behind is we're going to have like a pocket thing here with 3 shelves, maybe for like baskets for gloves and hats, and the coat pegs are going to go here. So this is kind of just like a nice little shelf, but it's going to be the back to a bench where we can take our wellies off, and it'll kind of be like a boot room really. We're pretty happy with the final stage, the final finish, because it's really just tidied this up. And you can see we're going to overhang this by a little bit, so when this is plastered, eventually, it's going to make it really nice. So overall, we've been a bit busy in here, looking after the plants, and we haven't been able to get out just yet. The mud is only just drying up, so it's still a little bit boggy. But thanks very much for watching, and we do have another video coming out on Wednesday this coming week of our outgoings and transparency. So we mentioned saving money in little areas. It's going to be something like that, and how we survive really. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you again next week.